As Sam Vaknin teaches us, the narcissist became our mother. This is not a metaphorical flourish, it is a precise, clinical, and symbolic statement. The maternal gaze revisited. Most of us were not entirely unattached as children. We had enough maternal presence to develop attachment and a sense of externality, but our attunement was partial, often avoidant, dismissive, or disorganized, leaving our internal architecture incomplete. We grew up with a hypertrophied anticipatory shadow reflex, an overgrown internal brace that stayed permanently switched on, scanning for rupture, waiting for the perfect moment of repair that never came. When we encounter a narcissist, something uncanny happens. Their idealizing gaze is experienced by the ASR as the long awaited maternal gaze. For the first time, the brace relaxes. We feel profoundly seen. But this is not real containment. Narcissists cannot contain. They cannot metabolize another's feelings or hold our internal world. What we experience as containment during the idealization phase is absence disguised as presence, a simulation of attunement created by the narcissist's cold empathy and our own projection of longing. From day one, there is no true holding environment, but the ASR assigns the narcissist the role of mother anyway, because the experience of being so thoroughly mirrored feels like the long delayed completion of our earliest developmental task. Universal vulnerability. This is not only true for those from narcissistic homes, even healthy, securely attached adults can be caught. The narcissist idealization phase does something very specific. It inflates the victim's self concept beyond realistic proportions, presenting them as extraordinary, perfect, chosen. It simulates perfect attunement, matching affect, supplying resonance, and creating a sense of destiny. It builds a false expectation that the relationship is a permanent repair, the final resolution of all past wounds. Then comes the devaluation. The narcissist does not simply withdraw love. They dismantle the very self they inflated. They insert doubt, shame, and fragmentation exactly where the victim had felt most whole. This is why anyone can be abused, but those with hypertrophied ASRs are far more vulnerable. They are pre-committed to handing over authorship of their self-concept to an external object. They experience the narcissist's mirroring as life-saving because their internal world has been braced for rupture since infancy. They mistake simulation for containment because their nervous system has been hungry for maternal repair their entire life. Collapse as maternal loss. When the narcissistic gaze collapses, we do not just lose a partner, we lose the mother we thought we had finally found. The ASR, which had been doing all the work of holding us together, fails. We are catapulted back into the annihilatory state, pre-verbal, terrified, orbiting the paranoid schizoid position, but still tethered desperately to the depressive position. Empathy becomes hyperactive and frantic, not because we are too nice, but because we are trying to re-establish the gaze that was defining our very sense of self. This is why collapse feels like ego death, because it is. The self we were in the shared fantasy has been withdrawn, and we are left with nothing but the raw pre-verbal wound that the narcissist seemed to have healed. The MPIT reframe. MPIT gives this process dignity and depth. It says there was never real containment. What you lost was the illusion of perfect attunement. Your collapse is not weakness, but the inevitable result of a hypertrophied ASR being asked to hold too much for too long. Your pain is not just heartbreak, but the grief of losing a second mother, and with her, the hope of finally getting it right. Reintegration. reclaiming authorship. Recovery is not about vilifying the narcissist, nor about trying to be less sensitive. It's about right sizing the ASR so that it becomes a flexible brace again, not a full time regulator. Separating the narcissist gaze from your self concept, reclaiming authorship of who you are, building genuine containment through therapy, symbolic practices, and secure attachments that do not rely on idealization or annihilation. Only then can we step into the true depressive position, able to hold ambivalence, grieve what we lost, and stay whole in the presence of both love and pain. This is the deeper truth survivors need to hear. You were not just heartbroken, you were remothered and then abandoned by that mother. The pain is so great because what you lost was not just love, but the illusion that your oldest wound had finally been healed. Peace out. Loads of love.